Okay, so we've got a 2010 Toyota Tundra. This is a V8. So what we're planning on doing today is replacing the secondary air injection pump, which is in the very back, so you got to pull the intake. So we're going to get this intake off. We're not going to replace the entire assembly. You don't really want to do that if you don't absolutely have to, like if the housing is cracked or something like that, then yes, you want to go ahead and replace the whole assembly. We're not going to, just because we're going to try to reduce the coolant loss and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get this intake off. We'll show you the process. I'll put it in time lapse. We will get this intake off and get it ready so I can show you the process of getting this secondary air injection pumps replaced. All right, so right back here is two of the EGR secondary air, and what this does is it takes it from the EGR through the hoses to a pump over here on the side and then puts it up into the intake. So what we're going to do, instead of having to take everything apart, we're just going to go ahead and replace just the valves. Which is a Torx bit down there, 4 bolts, disconnect the connector, and we're going to pull these hose lines off to give us a little bit more room in there. It's a pretty simple, pretty easy process. Just a Torx bit, take the connectors off, and there will be a plate. And once we get to that point, I will get it out of time lapse and show you exactly what we're doing. Okay, so we got everything loosened up. I'm going to go ahead, I've got everything disconnected, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. You see it's pretty well shot. Now, there is a second plate with the gasket down here. Alright, so we got the one solenoid off. Sorry, I had a customer come in. So now there's a secondary plate. The big thing is remembering how it went back together. So right now, the slots for this are going a very specific way. And they do go in a very specific way. So it went in like that. You can see all that crap right there on the top. This solenoid is definitely a shot. So we're replacing that. So I'm going to get a vacuum in here, clean that up, get this second one off, get that plate out, get it cleaned up, and then we'll put everything back together. So we're getting this back one off. same scenario. This one's a little rough, not quite as bad inside here. So let me get this gasket out. And now the plate. So the plate went in there like such. So when you're putting it back together, make sure it's going the correct way. I'm gonna go ahead and get a vacuum, clean this up, and I'll be back in just a second. All right, so here's the new one. I went ahead and took it apart. There's the plate. So we're gonna go ahead and put this back together the way it originally came out. Put the gasket in. All right, now the new solenoid. And the new screws. All right, that's in. Now I'm just going to take my ratchet and Torx bit with the extension and make sure it's good and tight. Otherwise, that is what we're going to do is do the same thing on the other side. It's real simple. I'm going to take a little break because my back and knees are giving me some trouble. But we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. Then we'll get it back together. And that is the process. Then once you get that done, make sure the hose goes back in, the connectors, and put the intake back on. Obviously come in here and clean up where the intake gaskets go. That way you can get a good seal on new gaskets. All right. Okay, so I'm going to explain why we are not replacing the whole assembly as, you know, one unit. One, it is a direct pass-through design, so there's no baffles in here on either side. It is straight up, straight through. I can stick my fingers through here. It has no effect on anything else. So instead of going through the full process of taking this completely apart, we are only replacing the solenoids and that baffle plate that pretty much opens it up and allows the flow out. So this housing really is not too big of a deal. You can leave this in place, it doesn't hurt anything. The big reason we are having to go through all this is this right here. This solenoid can no longer seal. So what's happening is it is taking that exhaust and constantly pushing it through and creating issues solenoid doesn't open properly because of all the carbon and all the exhaust gas coming through here, tends to wear these things down pretty bad. So this is why we're replacing it. It looks good, but the seals and everything are pretty much shot and the solenoids fail. So that's why we are replacing just this. That baffle plate, which are not real clean. You can see it's constantly open, where the other ones have are pretty, or the new ones are tight in there. So that's why we're replacing these two components instead of replacing the whole assembly. It can be done, it's not an issue, it doesn't affect anything else. So that's one reason why we're doing it. You can see that it's no longer viable. So that is the explanation of why we're replacing just the solenoid and the plate. Alright, so we got the heads cleaned up so we can set the intake back on. We got the hose right here for the vacuum booster on the back side, but once we get the intake in a little bit deeper, we'll set that back in place. You got the two wiring harness connectors back there. The third one on the passenger side, right there in the back, is right here. I actually took the bracket off to give me a little bit more room. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you in time lapse and set this intake in, and then we will get everything buttoned back up in time lapse, and then once I get everything done, we'll hook up the scanner and clear the codes and see what happens. Alright, so here's all the codes. We got P2442. Transmission has the same code. Anti-lock is a C1201 engine, and then too low voltage battery, which I'm not too worried about. That will cause the stability light and ABS light and everything to go off. So we're going to back out of this. We are going to clear all codes. Alright, so we are all clear. So now we're going to start it up, let it run, and then take it for a test drive.